AM in the AM with KM. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Out to Matt Lamb, who's with College Fix. We'll tell you a little bit about their great publication coming up, keeping folks accountable here on KIDO Talk Radio. He's the associate editor. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your publication, The College Fix, Young People Getting a Start in Journalism, Conservative Journalism. How's that going these days? All we ever hear about is the woke and the broke and reaching young people. You're at the epicenter of it. Can you give us some insight?
Absolutely. So at the College Fix, as you mentioned, we train students in the art of journalism. We're right-leaning, but we teach them the basics of good journalism, like reading the original sources, asking for comment, grammar, editing, all of that. And so each editor, we have 3 editors that work with students, and at any time we each have about 30 students that we're working with, so 90 total. And actually one of our newer reporters, Hudson Crozier, a few weeks ago broke a story you've probably seen about Harvard Medical School having a course on LGBT infants. And I know he did a great job on it because it drew a, Associated Press fact check saying that Harvard doesn't have a course on transgender infants, which it definitely does. But anytime you can get the Associated Press to come to the rescue of a leftist group, you've broke a major story.
Oh, Matt, you're right about that. But how is the outlook? Because you live in a world that is dominated by the woke. They look to cancel you. They look to cancel us. They look to cancel so many folks, and it's unfortunately the road that we all have to travel on. So what is the outlook for conservatism when we have shadow banning and all sorts of nefarious actions taken against us?
Absolutely. So, we do work with our students to do good journalism in terms of conservatism on campus. There's certainly some pushback, what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida with appointing conservatives like Christopher Rufo to the new college board. That's certainly a point of optimism, but, there's plenty of examples, of course, on the other side. The College Fix actually has a cancel culture database that documents all of these examples of mostly leftists trying to get, speakers canceled, statues, works of art, professors, etc. So it's still an uphill battle on our college campuses for sure.
Well, and that truly is the challenge. And of course, we have the leftist professors as well that were, prevalent in my time 30 years ago. However, today they're more emboldened than ever. That's a tough hill to climb.
Absolutely. And what happens, of course, is the older professors who are maybe more classically liberal, they actually like debating with their colleagues as they leave. We're getting more and more activists. One thing we cover at the College Fix is all of these new job postings that will say things like, we're looking for an engineering professor. Great. You should understand, mechanics and structural, structures and all that. Great. And you should have a commitment to anti-racism. And it's like, wait, what does that have to do with designing buildings that stand up? Why does it matter if you acknowledge your white privilege if you're teaching students how to design buildings? But that continues to sort of infect every job posting, and faculty now at many schools have to prove that they're woke and their commitment to diversity. So it's only going to get worse, and systems are being set out to basically weed out anyone who's center right or not woke.
Well, Matt, let's talk a little bit about the Country Music Association, or the Country Music Vibe, if you will. Country Music Association, they have a fellowship. What's the deal with that?
Right. So the Country Music Association has a fellowship that excludes white students. So the Diversity and Inclusion Fellowship is a partnership with 3 universities, the University of Tennessee, the University of Alabama, and Belmont University. And its goal is to, bring college students into the music industry, teach them, give them mentoring. It's a fellowship, so there's, some money attached to it. That's great, except it excludes white students. It's open only to what we call BIPOC students, Black, Indigenous, people of color. So basically racial minorities, non-whites, and sometimes that also excludes Asians. So there's a federal complaint filed by Mark Perry with the Office for Civil Rights, and that is, I guess, it's pending, and there may be and likely will be an investigation opened into this program that excludes white students.
This seems to be happening more and more across the country and everywhere. You see it in ads. You see it where people say this needs to reflect America, and yet you still have America where you have a lot of white people, and it just seems to be. And then you have the not to get too deviate, but then we have the situation in Memphis where the media is saying the black on black crime involving the victim there by the police was due to white supremacy. And this just isn't happening in the media, but this is happening in the classroom as well. As a young person, and you have a lot of young people that are impressionable, how is it possible to avoid the brainwashing?
Right. So, I know conservatives differ on this, but I'm not of the opinion that you should just give in to your professor and just write whatever needs to be said to get an A. I don't think students need to pick a fight with every single student and every professor on every single issue. Of course, just like we do in the real world, we have to be strategic and prudent about which issues we engage with. But I do think students should not hide their conservative beliefs. I think there is a difference. You don't have to wear all of your Trump stuff every day to class, and you also don't have to pretend to be a leftist. And so I think when students do speak up and they share their views, that actually tells other students, that actually encourages other students to share their views. There may be other students in the classroom, maybe they don't agree with you on every issue, but they agree with you on skepticism about climate change or, your support for free speech. And so I do think college students should be respectful. They should be well-read. They should understand all the arguments. But, in a class like political science or philosophy or ethics, where it should be set up for debate and discussion, students should stand up and share their views. In chemistry class, you don't need to say that you love Trump and you love the Second Amendment. That might not be appropriate. But students shouldn't be afraid to be outspoken and look at places like the College Fix or other right of center publications to share your views on maybe more of a national level, even if you're kind of being silenced in your classroom and on your campus.
So let's get back to this. So has there been any pushback from on the Country Music Association basically discriminating against white people?
There's been really no further update, but what I can say typically happens, and we've covered these cases a lot, is that the Department of Education will open an investigation because this does appear to violate Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And then what usually happens is the university will quietly change their website, change the application to say that racial minority students are particularly encouraged to apply, but it's open to all students. And so, I would expect within the next couple months, if not a year, we all know, the pace of the government, that the universities will probably have to either exit this program or have to amend their posting to not exclude people who are white. White people. I don't know why I said it like a leftist.
Well,
people.
People who are white. Matt, is this going to go on, or is this ever going to go out of style?
I think it's going to go on and on. Professor Mark Perry, he's filed something like over 700 Title VI and Title IX complaints. And, it's basically every time it's the same thing happens. I don't know if the universities think they won't get caught or they think the law doesn't apply to them. But until there's some very strong defunding mechanism for schools that attempt this, I think it will keep going on. I mean, it's sort of like, the 2-year-old that gets caught doing something wrong and you stop him and he just does it 5 minutes later. And that's a lot of times what it's like dealing with college administrators in many ways.
Matt, what else are you guys working on at the College Fix?
Yeah, so the College Fix continues to cover issues of free speech, China, wokeness. We actually had a story up just today about the University of Pennsylvania think tank, and of course how it's connected to Joe Biden. I believe Anthony Blinken used to run it or was somehow involved in how they were holding these classified documents. But we also have some success stories. So Troy University actually has a successful anti-woke business program run by Professor Alan Mendenhall that is training students in how to, be corporate leaders and learn about corporations in complete rejection of, ESG, liberal, activism within the companies, which we see with, of course, Disney and Coca-Cola and all these other all these other institutions. So there are some good programs on college campuses, some good colleges that are training students in free markets, capitalism, and what we might call like classical liberalism.
Yes, Troy University out of Troy, Alabama.
Yep.
Matt, anything else you'd like to share with us? We'd love to have you back. We appreciate you giving us some insight here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and please check us out at thecollegefix.com, and we're on all the different social media channels, the College Fix or College Fix, and please send us emails if you see anything, any news tips or any college students you can send our way.
Will do. Thank you, Matt. Take care.
You too.
There we have it, Matt.